It's a pleasure to join you today afternoon, to launch India's candidature to serve as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council.
The United Nations was created around a simple idea, that countries could come together to prevent conflict, protect peace, and create a system where international rules matter. But every time a country seeks a seat at the centre of that system, a difficult question appears. What should qualify a nation to help global decisions? That question is now at the centre of India's campaign for a seat on the United Nations Security Council. In July, India's External Affairs Minister stood at the UN headquarters in New York and presented India's vision for a greater role on the world stage. He called it SHANTI, securing holistic advancement through norms, trust and integrity. The message was clear. India believes it has earned a larger voice in the global affairs. But around that very same time, events inside India were gathering international eyes for a different reason. In the Sambal district of Uttar Pradesh, authorities demolished a mosque and an attached madrasa. Videos from the scene spread online and raised questions about the process, including whether residents had received sufficient notice and whether legal procedures had been properly followed. Indian authorities have defended demolition drives by saying they target illegal structures and they follow the law. Many critics argue that these actions have disproportionately affected Muslim communities, and that tension sits at the very centre of this story. Because India's bid isn't just about winning another diplomatic position, it's about which kind of country gets to define the rules of the international system. So what exactly is India asking for here? India is campaigning for one of the 10 rotating non-permanent seats on the UN Security Council for the 28-29 term. The vote will take place in the UN General Assembly, where India will need support from 2/3 of the member states. It's competing for an Asia-Pacific seat against Tajikistan. And this isn't India's first time seeking this role. India has already served on the Security Council 8 times, most recently during the 21-22 term. Its argument is built around several ideas. Its growing economic power, its role in UN peacekeeping operations, and its claim to represent the interests of the developing world, often described as the Global South. But a Security Council seat is not just a symbol of influence. Under the UN Charter, the Council carries primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. It can approve peacekeeping missions, it can impose sanctions, and it can authorise major international action. So the question becomes, does a country's record match the role it's asking to play? To answer that, we have to look at the evidence surrounding India's human rights record. At the same time India was making this pitch, several international organisations have been raising concerns about its human rights record. Earlier this year, the US Commission on International Religious Freedom designated India a country of particular concern for the 7th consecutive year. For the first time, the Commission also recommended sanctions against the RSS, the ideological parent organisation of the ruling BJP, and India's External Intelligence Agency, RAW. The Indian government has rejected these findings, describing the Commission as biased and saying its assessments do not accurately reflect conditions in the country. Other organisations have highlighted different concerns. Human Rights Watch has reported what it described as increasing violence and discrimination against religious minorities, along with concerns over deportations involving Bengali-speaking Muslims and the Rohingya refugees. Freedom House currently classifies India as partly free. The VDEM Institute labels India as an electro-autocracy, and Reports Without Borders rank India's press freedom well below many other democracies, citing concerns about political pressure and media independence. And then there are the demolition campaigns. In Assam, large numbers of homes belonging to Bengali-speaking Muslims have been demolished as part of the government operations, that officials say target illegal encroachments. Critics argue the campaigns have disproportionately affected one community and raised serious human rights concerns. Similar debates have emerged in other states where mosques and religious buildings have been demolished. Perhaps the most serious allegations come from the group of independent legal experts. In a recent report, they argued that some demolition campaigns in Assam and Uttar Pradesh may amount to persecution and other potential crimes against humanity under international law. They've called for further investigations through the UN human rights system. Of course, the Indian government has rejected all of these claims, maintaining its actions are lawful. So this debate isn't simply about one country, it's about the standards being applied to one of the world's most powerful institutes. Because here's the contradiction. The United Nations is built on the idea of promoting human rights. Yet some of the governments seeking and in some cases already holding influential positions within its system have also faced serious criticism over their own records. Add India to that table and you don't just fix the hypocrisy, you scale it. That raises a difficult question. What should qualify a country to help shape international peace and security? Military strength? Economic influence? Diplomatic relationships? Or its human rights records? Can you imagine a smaller nation wanting that seat that India wants, whilst facing years of the same accusations from international organisations? How do you think that would bode for the smaller country, like a small African country or a small country in Latin America, if they had that human rights track record? How do you think they would get on if they applied to take that seat? Wanting a seat on the Security Council is not controversial. Every major power wants one. The big question is, what do those seats actually represent? Because if standards change depending on who's applying, then it's worth asking how consistent are those standards. Let me know what you think. I'll catch you on the next one.